can almost guarantee you probably had a question about Tuckman's model of team formation. But for a lot of you that have a lot of different teams working on a lot of different projects, you might be at a varying level of each one of these team formations. So Dr. Bruce Tuckman was studying the formation of teams and how they work together, and noticed that when a team is first acquired, when a team is first showing up, right, and getting together, they're in what's called forming. And usually a forming team is pretty much on their best behavior. Oh, it's nice to meet you. It's like reality television. Show 1, everybody's fairly pleasant, right? Show 2 through 10, everybody's conflict. But they're pretty much on their best behavior and pretty dependent on the project manager, project leader, etc., to explain the project. But the storming or the conflict piece, I disagree with the direction. Maybe people's personalities start to show a little bit, So there's some storming that's going on, some conflict where the team's trying to figure out what is their team dynamic. Hopefully, after storming, the team will normalize a little bit and agree to disagree or whatever the case may be until they get to that performing piece of it. And once they're performing, it's like, okay, they got this. Project managers, okay, well, we can now focus on updating, stakeholders and communication, and I don't have to babysit anymore. They're good to go. The thing is, though, when somebody from the team leaves and somebody else joins, it shakes up the dynamic again. So adjourning was always, according to Tuckman, like if somebody leaves and then somebody new joins, the team goes back into forming, or the team adjourns and disperses at the end of the project and goes and works on other projects. Where would you say your team is right now? Would you say you have a pretty high performing team? Or did you just start a project with a team of people and, they're at forming? And if you're like, half my team is in this class, so I'm not saying a word, that's okay too. That's okay too. But the goal is to get them to that performing level. And the assumption is that if your team is, firing on all cylinders, they're in that performing zone, then things are much smoother as far as conflict, as far as disagreements. But we still have people. This is about people. How do we motivate humans? Okay, so I have to assume that many of you have heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. How many of you have heard of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Abraham Maslow, psychologist, was studying human behavior, and determined that all humans have 3 core needs. Yep, lots of you. Maybe you haven't heard my example of it, though. Maybe not. It'll be hopefully fun. But all humans have pretty much 3 core needs. They have physiological needs, they have safety needs, and they have social needs. Love, friendships, relationships, that kind of thing. And those are the 3 core needs that all humans have. And then once those 3 core needs have been sort of met, now we can start looking at self-esteem and self-actualization, which is giving to others without expectation of anything in return. And Maslow sort of felt not all human beings hang out at self-actualization. Well, we slide up and down these things depending what's going on in our lives. So just from experience, and the night before my PMP exam, it was my first big exam since college 100 years ago, and I was stressed. I have exam anxiety. I was super nervous. So one of my colleagues at the time said, look, just do yourself a favor and don't study the night before your exam. If you throw a low score, you're going to get demotivated. Just don't do it. Do something else. Well, that something else was watching a movie, and that movie was called Castaway. Have you seen Castaway? If not, spoiler alert, I'm sorry. I'll give you the Cliff Note version of Castaway, but it's been a lot of years since it came out. You too nervous, but you did review? Oh, that's okay. You do you, though. I'll tell you what, that's, for me, it worked out better this way. But it turned out I was actually kind of studying, and here's why. I'm watching Castaway with Tom Hanks, and I'm sitting there thinking, wait a second, this is a replica of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It was heartbreaking. I know, I cry every time I watch it. So I'm sitting there, I'm watching the movie. So the premise, just at a very high level, is Tom Hanks is a project manager, right? He works for FedEx. It's the holidays. He has the fiance, Helen Hunt. He's got the nice house, nice life, good job. At the last minute, they put him on a cargo plane filled with packages for delivery at the last minute, and that plane crashes into the ocean, right? And so there's this visual of Tom Hanks's character like surrounded by all these floating packages trying to get out of the airplane and survive. Well, he does, but he's the only survivor on a deserted island. He washes up on this deserted island with all these packages. And so he has air, and now he's like, I need food and fresh water to survive until I get rescued. So he figures out how to open coconuts, finds fresh water. So, pretty much all his basic physiological needs were met: air, food, and water. Then Tom Hanks, I know, it's a great movie. So his physiological needs have been met. Then he's like, all right, well, I don't know what's on this island. I have no idea if there's like bugs or snakes or, I've got to figure out shelter of some kind. And so inevitably he finds a cave and he figures out how to build fire. I build fire, right? So now he's got air, food, water, shelter, fire, safety in some way, shape, or form. Well, time passes. Nobody rescues him. They all think he's dead, right? And he gets lonely. There's nobody on the island. I saw you chat in. Some of you already chatted in. The name of his inanimate object friend, Wilson, the volleyball. And there are scenes where he is having conversations, one-sided, but conversations with Wilson. Don't argue with me, Wilson, because he had to have some kind of social interaction as human beings, no matter what. If we're talking to ourselves and answering ourselves, that's social interaction, right? So Wilson, the volleyball, was his social interaction. 5 years with Wilson, exactly. Just time passes, those 5 years pass, and, nobody's coming to save him, and he's like, oh, I have got to get myself off this island myself. If nobody's coming to get me, I'm going to be here forever. I need to get home. So he builds a raft and he gathers up some of the packages and puts them on the raft with Wilson, with the coconuts, with the water, and they start rowing out to sea. And the island's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it. And then Wilson falls overboard, goes bobbing away, bursts into tears, and we carry on. So he does get rescued. But as his team was like, wow, look at what I did. I survived on a deserted island. And I got myself off it. Yeah, exactly. So he gets picked up by a tanker ship and returns home. Well, of course, everything's changed. Fiance moved on. Everybody thought he was dead. He doesn't have anything from his past life. But he's somewhat on a mission because he works for FedEx. He's on this mission to deliver these packages that never got delivered for the holidays. And so he's got this decision to make. I can try and go back and get my old life, or I can, deliver these packages. And so there's this little visual crossroads in the movie where it's sort of like, I could do this, or I could do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to give to others without any expectation of anything in return, even though I just spent all this time going through this thing. So that would be self-actualization. But here's the thing. He was out of steam when he got on that airplane. Then he crashed into an ocean and everything changed. So I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is your PMP brain, like on movies, I guess. But as I'm watching it, I'm thinking, wow. And then you start thinking about life circumstances like 2019, 2020, not a lot of social interaction, fear, those kinds of things. We humans travel up and down those all the time, depending on, not all the time, but depending on circumstances. And so do the people on our team. And knowing where they are can allow us to practice, maybe some empathy or at least emotional intelligence. Douglas McGregor studied management styles. And management styles were broken into two distinct categories: X managers and Y managers. X managers are micromanagers, right? They believe that everybody on their team necessarily does not want to work. They're there for the money, but they do need to be micromanaged, and micromanaging actually works. Well, Theory X managers were actually they're now referred to as sort of old-fashioned management styles. But there's certain needs for X-Man. Like, what industries would you say would be where it would be necessary to have sort of that dictate what needs to be done? This is the order in which you do it. This is how you have to do it. I don't care if you disagree. This is how we're doing things. So what kind of industry would an X-manager or that style of management be realistic? Military. Police. Sounds like the military. Good one. Yep. Military, police, hospital. Anytime there's patient safety, it's like, exactly, fire departments. That doesn't mean that they're all running around like, it just means, look, I'm sorry that you disagree with protocol, but do it anyway. Hospital for sure. Fire for sure. Police, military for sure. For me, personally, I look at this as EX. X manager. Cross that one out. Don't need to be micromanaged. I much prefer the participative style of the Y manager, who is like, you're here because you want to be here. You're going to creatively solve problems. You're going to collaborate. You're going to work as a team. I'm here if you need me. I don't need to micromanage you. And I know you're here because you want to be here. So I'm like, yay, yes, Y managers. But look, there's the adaptive management styles or the adaptive leadership styles. If you've ever had anybody on your team, you got to micromanage a little bit. And then other people on your team that are your rock stars get it. And you don't need to worry about them. Then we do have to adapt. Building a McDonald's Big Mac, yay! Woo, exactly. But that should be micromanaged, I think, David, is what you're saying. And I do not disagree. That's right. There's an order to things. But yeah, so, and then there was another theory Z, that is that adaptive management. We have to, from time to time, get a little micromanagery as needed. Now, Frederick Herzberg's theory of hygiene, not what it sounds like, but that hygiene just means health. He was studying organizations in like the 40s, 50s, and 60s. That's when a lot of these are all going down, right? Times were changing. And Herzberg was going to organizations and saying, look, if you want to attract and retain the best talent, your organization has to be healthy. There has to be certain hygiene needs for somebody to join your organization and want to be there. First of all, you have to have good policy, and this is not an exhaustive list, but time off, benefits, good work conditions, that kind of thing. And if those things are in place, now we can motivate because we're a healthy organization, and so we can provide recognition and achievement and offer advancement opportunities or provide the ability to take on more responsibility as needed and or personal growth. Well, I skipped one, and I skipped it on purpose. And I'm just curious because there's no wrong answers in it at all. I'm not judgy. But how many of you would say you are motivated by money? Like, if somebody were going to reward you with something, would you rather have time off or, let's say, a gift card for $200? Well, what would be your preference? A day off? Cut the check. Because, see, some people will say time off, right? Time off, time off, time off, time off, time off. There's a lot more time off. We got some peeps who need a vacation. And then others that are like, yeah, worth more than the money. Yeah, time off. Peace of mind, money, money, money. PTO, I'll take the check, right? See? There's no wrong answer. Definitely time off. Yeah, we got some peeps who need a vacation. And then others are like, I got all this PTO. I can't use it. And just throw me the money. Show me the money, right? Jerry Maguire. Show me the money. But Herzberg's thought was that money is a need, not a motivator. Meaning, if we don't pay people what they're worth, for the most part, to afford their lives, their lifestyles, their hobbies, their families, their vacations, they'll leave. You agree? Yeah, they will leave. Have you ever had, like, maybe early on in your career, where you had a job that you really, really loved, but you left because you didn't make enough money? Does that ever happen to you? Yeah, I agree. See, I agree with this too. And I did. I had a job very early on in my career. I was in a completely different industry. And I loved what I was doing. I was doing morning shows on radio stations in the Philadelphia, New York market and New Jersey. And I loved it. And it was, before Clear Channel owned everything. So the AM station was on one side, and that was like serious news. And then the FM alternative was on the other side. And I would run across the hall and do sort of the color news, that kind of thing. And, be the sidekick. I loved that job. Loved it. But it wasn't Howard Stern. And, I couldn't make enough money. So I had to switch gears. Accidental project manager. Yeah. You said no to jobs that were great, but the salary was not so bad. Right. Absolutely. It depends on what we need. And that's the theory of hygiene or the theory of needs, is that, I'd love to be here. I'd love to stay here, but I can't afford to be here. Yeah. So that's the theory. And it's an interesting twist, because if you say, are you money motivated? People are often afraid to be like, yeah, it's not a motivator. It's a need. I need to make a certain amount to support my life and my families. And if I got to go and leave something I really enjoy to go make more money with something I marginally enjoy, that's the decision. Uchi's Theory Z works well. Exactly. It's exactly. Theory Z. Yep. You got it. And that a lot of these, theorists were all sort of producing their theories around the same time. David McClelland wrote a book in 1961 called the Achievement Society, or Society of Achievement, something like that. And it was based on his theory of needs. And he truly believed, I kind of buy into this too, that as human beings, we all have three core needs: achievement, power, and affiliation. But regardless of where we grew up, what generation, where in the world, all of that, how we were raised, nature, nurture, doesn't matter, that one of those is going to be higher than the other two in the hierarchy. So for somebody who's got a high need for achievement, oftentimes they tend to be lower risk, right? I don't want to take on something that I can't achieve. They are more likely to attend to training. They're more likely to ask for checklists, for help. And I want to be able to achieve this. Many times they like to work in commission-based environment. Like, it's their achievement, it's their money. Low risk, seeks skills training, perhaps prefers to work alone. That doesn't mean you're, don't like people or anything. It's just, hey, I'm doing my thing. Achievement-oriented people, to motivate them, we provide that. We provide the training. We provide the checklist. We provide the steps to be successful. People who have more of a need for affiliation just want to be around people. Like, if that's the higher need, they love working with teams of people. They are motivated by being told people really like them, that you're super helpful, that the team appreciates you. They're going to be the people that, Monday morning notice you got a new pair of shoes or ask you how your weekend was. These are not affiliation-oriented folks. This is a great movie, too. If you've never seen this, is my pop culture reference. Do not ever put an affiliation-oriented person in the basement with a red stapler. Bad things happen. If you've never seen Office Space, you're missing out. It's a classic. But affiliation-oriented people want to work on teams. It's totally classic. I love that movie. So people are affiliation oriented. Then we have power oriented, and McClelland broke these into two different types of power: institutional power and personal power. Institutional power people seek higher positions. They want to be in charge. They want to climb the corporate ladder. They want to be CEOs, CFOs, presidents, senior managers, that kind of thing. And they seek higher positions. So to motivate somebody who's power oriented, institutional power oriented, we want to help them get promoted because that's what they're seeking. So they're going to seek high power positions. However, a lot of times if that institutional power is at the top, followed by like achievement and then affiliation, oftentimes if they have lower affiliation, they can make, and we need them to in some cases, but they can make decisions that affect people's lives and sleep at night. Like that dude who laid off a bunch of people on a Zoom call, like completely no emotional intelligence, no affiliation at all with anything. It was a business decision, period. This is not a bad thing. We need people in charge. We've got to watch out for that low affiliation. Because on the other side of that, the personal power, McClelland's like, nope, they're the sociopaths. Like they will do whatever to get where they need to be to gain power. So that we don't want to focus on that. Not on a Zoom meeting. It was like 600 people. I can't remember that dude's name, but I was shocked. So when we look at which one is, sort of the top, I would say more people who attend my class, their hierarchy is achievement, affiliation, and power. It's not 100. I'm never going to put any of you in a box, but what do you say is the number one for you? Are you more achievement oriented? Are you more affiliation oriented? Because sometimes it's affiliation achievement. And then other people are like, no, I seek institutional power positions. Like, I want to be in charge. Yeah, I would say none of them are bad other than personal power, right? Which none of you are. But yeah, I would say more people would say achievement first or affiliation first. In my classes, especially, like certification classes, they're like, oh, I want to get my cert. I want to achieve this. But I buy in. Hey, there you go. Achievement, institutional power. Perfect. Because we need people in charge. We need good people in charge. That's not a bad thing. All of these things are great other than personal power, which was like, that's negative, seek to win at all costs. Nope. Don't want to deal with that. But yeah, Victor Vroom, the sort of last theorist, I guess, that we'll talk about. Victor Vroom, first of all, has a very cool name. Somebody in my other class says, his name, it sounds like he's like a Marvel Universe villain or something. Hi, I'm Victor Vroom. But Vroom's expectancy theory had everything to do with 1, setting expectations for our team, 2, following through, and 3, following through with something that somebody finds valuable. Time off, money, a high five, a trophy, whatever the case may be. Because his thought was that the majority of people in the workforce, anyway, walk around thinking, if I do a good job, somebody's going to notice and give me something that I value. So you have the expectancy, the belief that one's effort will result in attainment of desired performance goals, the instrumentality of, if I do that, I will get a reward, and then the valiance is that reward will be something that I value. And all of these things are important to understand in a management or leadership position of what do my people value? What do my peeps want? Like what? Because if we walk around, we do a really good job and we're like, okay, so they promised that we would get something as a reward, and then maybe we get something that we don't find valuable, or it makes us uncomfortable, then we're going to be demotivated. And by uncomfortable, I mean, how many of you are uncomfortable with public displays of recognition? As in, you get pulled up on a stage in front of all of your peers and everybody's just like, you rock, yeah. Anybody uncomfortable with that? No thanks. Yeah, me too. Yeah, no thank you. Not that I mind the back pat. I like a good back pat, right? But to be pulled up in front of a lot of people, I'm inherently introverted. So it's like my first thing is going to be, hey, I couldn't have done this without my team. So if that's not something that I value above a thank you or a day off or a raise or whatever it is, I'm going to be like, oh, okay. Need advance notice so you can prepare for it. Yeah. Yeah, good back pat one-on-one is critical. I agree. Yeah. Oh, you looked it up for me? Thank you. The CEO is the person who fired his employees on Zoom. Yeah, not good. Not very nice, dude. Nope. But yeah, so I think knowing our team and knowing ourselves too, because we also, as people that work for corporations, need to be able to know, what are some of the things that I could ask for that are realistic as a reward. The other thing that we look at it with development of humans are, where are our people? Do you have any martial arts people in here? Anybody who study martial arts? Shuhari is a sort of a theory based on martial art. It came from martial arts. But Shu, Ha, and Ri are three different things, but it has to do with starting out in martial arts. You get pizza? Pizza, anything with food is okay. Donuts are better, but pizza's good. Yeah. Shuhari. But Shu is if we're learning something new, if you're just starting to learn something new, and there's steps to follow. Like, here's how you build this Excel spreadsheet, right? You're going to follow the rules. You say, okay, I click here, I do this, I drag here, I push that, and do this. And so Shu is like, I'm going to follow the wisdom of the people that are already doing this, and I'm going to follow the rules. Then Ha, I think of as like, ha, I figured out a different way to do this. I figured out how to right click and, import formulas and have ChatGPT do it. Woo, look at me breaking rules, right? That conscious decision to do it our way, to put our own creative spin on things. And then Ri is you're the master and other people are coming to you saying, how'd you do that in Excel? And the cycle continues. And so it's just that Shuhari is just first learn, then detach, and finally transcend, be the master, right? So I just find it interesting. It's like, where are my people right now? Like, where is their level of acquisition as far as skills are concerned? I mean, I'm obviously more highly ingrained in coaching and training now. So the team level involvement changes from my position as new skills are learned and mastered. And that's why I ask a lot of questions. I don't want to, spend a lot of time talking about things everybody knows if that's just a waste of our time together. And so when we look at novice, competence, proficiency, expertise, and mastery, it's not like I sit around and judge people. Oh, that person's just competent. It's not like that. It's more, what do they need from me to be more successful today? And I think that's what inherently drew me to Agile was that idea of situational or servant leadership, to spend more time coaching, training, mentoring. And it was just a completely different world for me when I sort of left that predictive project management behind. And I was lucky enough to be able to jump out of it and do other things. I own my own business. I was a consultant. So for me, it was easier to run in a more agile environment and focus on that coaching, implementation projects, and training rather than, software, hardware, which was, software at the time when I was at AOL, they were trying to get dial up to broadband. Yeah. Did you hear the modem in your head? Yeah. So it was highly predictive. There were definitive milestones. There were absolutely like set drop dead dates and things like that. Lots of project. So once I sort of transitioned out of that into situational leadership, I was like, oh, this is great. But as always, there will be conflict no matter what. And some conflict is good as long as it's functional conflict. Conflict is inevitable. We're looking at the functional versus dysfunctional conflict. and how it's dealt with. So when we come back from break, we're going to go through conflict, then we're going to go through Kanban, then we're going to go through lean, and then we're going to call it a day. So I'm going to pop up the 10-minute timer. When we come back, we'll pick up here, wrap up the people side, and do just an overview on some of the other frameworks or ideals that really led to both industrial age and agile, or the technological age of software development in project management. All right, I will see you after the break. Have a good one. I'll see you in 10.